Then Brayton, Lyondike after having to lift into the pits. Teo Fabi, Scott Goodyear with his problems. Christian Danner with an excellent run, as well as for Willy T. Ribs. Matsushita, Lazier, Griard, Bentley, Mario Andretti. The end of the race, falling out and falling backwards. The same thing occurs for Mike Groff. The rest of the order with Buell, Gordon falling well back, Johansson, Till, Guerrero, Mark Smith. The rest of the final standings, these are all cars that were out fairly early in the going of the race. And Adrian Fernandez, the good news is he was not seriously injured, only bruised in that accident very early on against the barrier. So now let's go back down to some of the celebrations. Jan Bikas is with Bobby Rahal.
Well, Bobby Rahal is just about to make his way to the podium. A third-place finish for you. Nice run.
Thank you. It's been a long time for us to be on the podium this year. I think we're Long Beach in April, and it's been a real uphill battle for us since Indianapolis, but the car's starting to come right. We're starting to get a good feel for it, and we need to start a little bit further up the grid so we can stay with Nigel, but you know, we had to fight our way through about 5 or 6 guys, and it was a fun race for me and a good finish for us.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Let's check in with Gary.
Well, here's Rahal Boycell. He finishes 4th, and I'm sure that helps a little bit to ease the frustration of the last event at Loudon when you were competitive but got knocked out there on the backstretch. What kind of a day for you, Rahal?
No, I think it was pretty good. My Duracell Lola run perfect. I think one of the fastest car there. We got out of sequence a little bit on the first pit stop. That was part of our strategy. We thought would pay off at the end of the race. I didn't quite work out the way we thought it would be, but we get the momentum back again. We get some points, and you know, that's is good. So the team will go with a lot more motivation to Vancouver, and we're behind that first win, and you know, we get close and close. I hope it will happen next race. So we're very happy with the performance we had today. Myself, the team. Everything works according with our plan.
You said you thought you were fast. The records indicate that you were within 2/10 of Mansell's fastest laps during the course of this race today. So that Lola really was working well.
Yeah, my car was absolutely perfect. Good in traffic, especially on the fast corners where it's difficult to stay behind another car. But you know, I enjoy very much all day long, and I thought it would be on the podium today. But we just keep working for next one.
We know one of these days you're going to win one of these rascals, and I sure hope we're there when that opportunity comes, because we want to see that smile.
I want to see it too.
All right, Rahal. Good job.
Thanks.
Paul?
Rahal has registered top 10 finishes in 10 of 12 races this year. The other ones, he just didn't finish. Paul Tracy's car quiet now. We take a look at the points. Mansell still well in front, but Fittipaldi's still within striking distance.
He is, but really the day belongs to Paul Tracy. He endeared himself to that crew so much by arriving on crutches, jumping into this other car and running so fast. And the fact that they put a win together, well, all it has done is enhanced his reputation.
We still have a wonderful battle for the championship in the IndyCars as they look ahead to next week in Vancouver. Today's coverage from Road America has been brought to you by Valvoline. People who know use Valvoline. And by Budweiser, the king of beers with that fresh, pure, natural taste. Nothing beats a Bud. So the day is done here at the magnificent Road America circuit. In 1 week, they will be at BC Place in Vancouver, Canada. And the battle will continue. Nigel Mansell certainly has not yet won this championship. There's still plenty of chance for an opportunity for Mansell to have just one failure, and that championship will be gone.
One failure, it opens up the door for either now of the Penske drivers. I believe in the remaining 4 races, the Penske car will be very difficult to beat. But in motor racing, you never know what's around the corner.
And it does seem, as Roger Penske suggested, that the Chevy engine is now able to keep with the Ford on the long straightaways.
Ford developed, I believe, probably 25 or more horsepower, but Chevrolet look as if they have closed the gap at the critical time of the season.
So the battle in the IndyCars continues with a performance in front of the largest crowd for a professional sports event ever in the state of Wisconsin. Governor Tommy Thompson here watching as well as Paul Tracy takes his 4th victory in the IndyCars. I'm Paul Page for Derek Daly. Jan Vig.
The 1993 Men's U.S. Amateur is brought to you by Karsten Manufacturing. makers of Custom Fit, custom built Ping Zing irons and woods. And by Charles Schwab and Company, helping investors help themselves.
A reminder that the Vancouver Grand Prix is coming up next. As you see our situation, we're still on a rain delay, but tomorrow at 4 Eastern Time, 3 Central, we're due to return and crown this year's amateur champion. That wraps up today's coverage. Be sure to join us tomorrow at 4 o'clock. The final round. For Steve Melnick, Frank Hannigan, Bob Rosberg, Jerry Pate, I'm Brett Musburger. So long from the Champions Golf Club in Houston, Texas. See you tomorrow.
Start a project with Minwax Wood Finish and turn new into treasured, ordinary into extraordinary, even pine into cherry. Because Minwax Wood Finish makes it easy to turn any project into a beautiful masterpiece. Minwax makes wood beautiful.
Let's get ready to rumble with boxing bloopers and KOs and ESPN home video. Filled with super knockouts, blooper knockouts, and heavyweight standouts.
A winner by a knockout.
This video is just marvelous. So call now and order boxing bloopers and KOs.
The WBO Heavyweight Championship. Tommy the Duke Morrison defends his title against Mike Williams. Don't miss the WBO Heavyweight Championship of the World. Live tomorrow night at 9 Eastern, only on ESPN.
The IndyCars have traveled back across North America. In midweek, they cleared the Rockies and pulled into Vancouver, British Columbia. It's here in Canada that names like Goodyear and Tracy are shouted with gusto by enthusiastic IndyCar fans. In Canada, they know and love their racing. For that excited throng and the teams they admire, it's been a festive time. The parties and practice are over. Race time is at hand. This is the 4th run in Vancouver. Each has delivered its special moments. Unser Jr. won here on his way to the championship. Michael Andretti twice won here. The battle for the PPG Cup continues. It's a perfect day, crystal air, for the Vancouver IndyCar Grand Prix. Hello, I'm Paul Page, and we've had a fascinating qualifying session here that ends up with Scott Goodyear on the pole in front of this Canadian crowd. And Bobby Rahal will start alongside. Now, Derek, 2 Lolas on the front row.
Well, just when we thought it was safe to start touting Penske as the dominant car at the end of the season here, suddenly Lola takes the fight right back to them, qualifying 1, 2, and 3.
Now, what does this do to the points fight?
Well, I think although Emerson Fittipaldi is running second at the moment, the championship fight seems to be between Paul Tracy and Nigel Mansell, because Emerson has gone off the boil just a little bit. Now, Rahal and Goodyear could become spoilers here. Remember, Tracy needs to win, Mansell not score to make this championship fight good. But anybody who finishes ahead of Paul Tracy will help Nigel Mansell win the championship.
26 Indy cars ready to go. Let's take a look at the starting field. On the pole is Scott Goodyear, the second pole of his career, alongside Bobby Rahal, his first front row in '93. In the second row, Nigel Mansell, who leads the current PPG points fight, and Paul Tracy, the hottest driver on road courses in the series. In row 3, it's Unser Jr., the inaugural winner, and Robby Gordon. The fourth row, Andrea Montermini and Raul Boesel. In row number 5, it's TLC-VB and Emerson Fittipaldi, who is second in the points fight. The sixth row, Stefan Johansson, who finished third here last year, and Jimmy Vasser. In the seventh row, Mark Smith and Mario Andretti, currently fifth in the points. And we take a look at the rest of this IndyCar field as they circulate around the BC Place Stadium here. This is an area that is shaded to the IndyCars. The rest of the track is out under bright sunlight as we look at the field ready to go to the green flag in the continuing battle for the PPG Cup. It should be a spectacular afternoon. The temperatures are in the 70s, 102 laps, 168 miles. The green fuel window anywhere between the 28th to the 40th lap, but we expect that those pit stops should come right about lap 38. Now they are aligned behind Johnny Rutherford in the PPG pace car, that unfamiliar front row for this season, with Scott Goodyear on the pole. The Canadians are very partial to that. And, of course, the defending PPG Cup champion, Bobby Rahal. You look back from Scott Goodyear's car. Rahal moves from position alongside. They come toward the pit straight. And they don't like the start. Not a surprise at all there. So the laps will begin to count, but we're under yellow just for the start as they came off the corner. In their defense somewhat, though, it's a fairly tight distance to the start-finish line coming off of that final corner.
And as ragged a start as I've seen this year, the flagman was correct in throwing the yellow because Scott Goodyear, remember the controversy earlier in Detroit this year, the poleman needs to lead the race across the start-finish line for the first time. Goodyear, we clearly saw, was 3 or maybe even 4 car lengths behind Rahal.
The obligation, of course, is for the rest of the field to align off of the pole car. Here is that false start once again.
Track position is so vital here. Rahal is very knowledgeable of how important it is, and he tries to steal a jump on Goodyear. Goodyear didn't bite, and we got to go again, and look who went with him, Paul Tracy.
Now, what Scott Goodyear is trying to do is to find a speed that gives him an optimum gear selection going to the first corner, isn't it?
Exactly, and he has the right to pick whatever speed he wants that suits him and his car and his conditions at the start before they take that green flag.
Here's the course, Derek.
Bit like Monte Carlo, I think, because of the tunnel that they go through towards the end of the lap. It is very bumpy. Their braking zones here seem to be very slippery. Now, track position, I said, is all important. Very often, these races are won or lost in the pit lane.
That comparison to Monte Carlo has been made for more than the track. There's so much new construction going up around here that they are comparing it more and more. Now we take a look. Green flag comes out. Start is good. Here comes Tracy as he tries to dart in behind Bobby Rahal. Scott Goodyear leads them into the first corner. Field must be very careful through here. Already they're single file with Scott Goodyear pulling away and Tracy looking for racing room to the outside of Rahal. Al Unser Jr. comes up to challenge as well.
And Montermini hits Al Unser Jr. He hits his left, his right rear wheel. We saw Montermini's car. Oh, Lyondike is in trouble, but Montermini definitely made contact with Al Unser Jr.
And Lyondike in contact as well. Look at the suspension on the right front. As the course marshals, again all volunteers here, come out to make sure that he's safe. Now the IndyCar safety team is there as well. And Scott Goodyear, with this first lap, goes unchallenged. The battle develops now for second place with Rahal and Paul Tracy, and we've got a parking lot.
This is a red flag. This has to be a red flag. There is no choice. You cannot drive through 3 cars stopped like that unless they can move it before Goodyear gets around.
There's Griard. Johnny Unser is there head on. And double yellows come out. The pace car will come out. It'll slow the field. And they'll have to shortcut that chicane, come around through the backside of it. As all of them gesture, here's how we're going to get out of this mess.
Back in the field, Olivia Griard. Oh, he spins it in front of Johnny Unser. And the helpless Jeff Wood has to sit there, literally stopped on the racetrack, hoping not to hit somebody. But there is a freight train about to catch those guys at that chicane if they don't slow down under this yellow flag.
Awkward, if not an embarrassing moment, and Griard's engine beginning to heat up the cowling a little bit. That shouldn't be dangerous to him. And Robby Gordon has a problem as well. So we're talking Lyondike, Gordon, Griard, Johnny Unser, Jeff Wood, all on lap number 1. Now, it looks certainly as if Robby Gordon is out of action for the moment, but we'll find out about the rest of them. So here is the way they line up with a full course yellow for the second time of the day, and Scott Goodyear is the leader. Today's coverage of the Vancouver IndyCar Grand Prix is brought to you by PPG, world leaders in automotive finishes, by Ford, Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And buy new advanced high-tech formula Quaker State Motor Oil. It's formulated for today's high-tech engine.
Where you see a close encounter, Ford sees a way to make braking safer for you. Where you see a crowded corner, Ford sees ways to make cornering more secure. It's why we race. Every time you see Ford take home another trophy, Ford has seen ways to win something far more important: every driver's confidence. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Announcing the biggest advance in Quaker State history. It's Quaker State's new advanced high-tech formula motor oil. Superior protection against wear. Superior protection against heat and stress. Superior cleaning power. New advanced Quaker State motor oil. It's formulated for today's high-tech engines. And now announcing the biggest rebate in Quaker State history. Get a $4.20 cashback rebate to try new advanced high-tech formula Quaker State.
Place on earth that I'd rather be than out in the open where it's so plain to see. If it's gonna get done, it's up to you and me. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Here.
Back in Vancouver, where the race is only 3 laps old, but there's already been some action that can have some impact on the overall championship. On the start of the race, Robby Gordon was moving up, but take a look at Unser Jr.
Look at Montermini in the yellow and black adjunct car down the inside. Look at this. Hits him right there, lifts Montermini's car off the ground. I believe it was wheel-to-wheel contact, which probably will not give Al Unser any aggravation, because sometimes obviously if it's the wing that hits the wheel, it very easily slices the sidewall of that tire and would send him straight to the pit lane.
Later on in the same lap, 3 cars involved in a corner, and that brought out the full course yellow. No injuries, but it looked like they were going to have to retire Olivier Briard's car, and they pushed Robby Gordon's car behind the wall. Let's go down pit side with Gary.
Great disappointment here for A.J. Foyt's team. A.J. incidentally not here with the crew this weekend, Paul. Apparently a half shaft was broken, and that's going to wipe out the best starting position in many, many races for Robby Gordon. They had another half shaft here in the wall ready to go. It's about a 5-minute replacement job, but apparently Robby got out of the car. Crew very disappointed they couldn't get the car back here and make this change and possibly get him out there to get more experience, lap time, and possibly some points. Now he is definitely done for the day. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
We're standing by in the Chip Ganassi pit, and we have checked in as far as Arie Luyendyk. He has now radioed in and said, hey, there was a pack-up coming into the chicane. Everybody slowed, I got on the brakes, and then I got hit from both sides. Arie Luyendyk is out of the car. His day is done. The crew's packing up here in the pits. Paul?
Well, Arie Luyendyk will suffer with that. He was 8th into the points coming into this race with 61, but of course he goes home with 0.
And Willy T. Ribs also got caught in that pack-up. That's the problem when you start far down the grid. Luyendyk was 17th and Willy T. Ribs was 16th. They could not avoid the incident ahead of them, and then they got clobbered.
You can see the field is shortcutting the course, that chicane where they had the problem. On board looking back on Bobby Rahal's nose cam.
Interesting, we see Robby Gordon breaking a drive shaft there. That was the same thing that put Al Unser Jr. out of our last race at Elkhart Lake. Broke a drive shaft, which is something very unusual this year. We haven't seen many of it. Suddenly we see 2 in 2 races.
You talk about things that can have an effect. As we look at the map of the track here, this track seems much rougher this year than it has in past years. That can affect what constant velocity joints and half shafts.
Yes, it is very bumpy. You know, sometimes it's just the way you set it up. Sometimes it's just pure bad luck. I mean, they do crack detect crack test these parts before they go on the race car. Sometimes you just can't pick up all the problems.
BC Place Stadium just in front of Bobby Rahal as he moves through the first corner and follows Scott Goodyear. They line up under the yellow with Goodyear in the lead. He has been from the first green flag. This is really our second yellow. Bobby Rahal second, Paul Tracy third, Nigel Mansell in fourth, Unser Jr. fifth, Andrea Montermini in sixth place, Rahal Boycell seventh, TLC-VB is eighth, Stefan Johansson is ninth, and in 10th place is Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's go pit side with Jan.
Well, a lot of people here in the pits are talking about where is that speed from Scott Goodyear coming from? Does he have changes on the car? Yes, he has new Lola updates, which are air deflectors behind the front wheels, as well as a new underbody. But speaking with team owner Derek Walker, he says it really comes down to the fact that we're in a Canadian race here. We have a Canadian sponsor, McKenzie. It came down to, for that pole position run, Scott Goodyear working traffic, putting his pedal to the metal, and pulling out what all drivers are looking for, that perfect lap.
It was one of those fun moments, too, to watch at the end of the day when they realized that they did have the pole in the last few minutes. They were all ecstatic. Now, here's that situation again between Montermini and Unser Jr. that could have done some pretty serious damage to Montermini.
And both cars luckily did survive. I mean, there's a big squeeze job down there when you get down. But look at Montermini. He actually did break that the right front wing. Actually, that's not the one that he hit Al Unser with. So he probably will have to go into the pit lane to have that seen to, because if that flies off at 150 miles an hour, it could easily get up into the grandstand. So Montermini running in his best run so far this early in the race, running 6th, but he's going to have to go and see Antonio Ferrari's team in the pits.
Now through the reports, go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, just a follow-up on Al Unser Jr. We just checked with Rick Gallis, and he said Jr. didn't even acknowledge on the radio that he was aware of any contact. So they don't know of any damage to their car. They're greatly relieved, but they were somewhat concerned to find out that Jr. had been involved in some contact. So apparently, Al Unser Jr. also making his best start of the season up here in the third row, hoping for one of those days where he can get back on the podium.
Quick footnote on Montermini. They are going to attempt a live hookup to Italian television, whereby Montermini can actually talk directly live on television in Italy from the race car under yellow flag conditions. Obviously, he can talk about his own incident, well, that's probably the one they're going to be watching.
If he's up now, what they're going to be telling the Italian television is he's seeing a black flag because they're going to bring him in so that they can at least take that one strip of wing off the car. We're actually talking in turn 3 several separate incidents that involved Danny Sullivan, Mark Smith. You saw Montermini get involved, and Scott Brayton was also involved in that, and you saw Arie Luyendyk get involved in that situation. All of those happening in that turn 3 area, and all simultaneously, which I think, Derek, speaks to how tight and narrow this course is and how it can have an impact on the championship.
Well, they all know that it's very tight down there. They all will tell you, I'm going to take it very easy on the opening laps and let things settle down. Certainly that's what the front runners said they would do, particularly Nigel Mansell said to me this morning he will definitely not try and stick his nose in where there isn't enough room and settle down, but back down through the field, you can so easily throw all your weekend's work out the window by one small error when you're between the concrete walls like here.
I thought it amusing that you were joking with Roger Penske this morning on how almost invisible Nigel was in that warm-up session. He stayed away from everybody. In that warm-up session this morning, Bobby Rahal was the fastest. Paul Tracy was second quick. That speed manifesting itself only in part here today as now they close up. And the course marshals wave them on because we should come back to a green flag now. There it is. Back racing, lap number 6.
You can see there that Montermini's not on the leaderboard anymore. He has gone to the pit lane.
Both Paul Tracy and Unser Jr. using a little wider line coming off of the hairpin as they look for a place to attack. On board Rahal as he follows the leader.
We lose our onboard camera obviously under this tunnel here, but it is absolutely spectacular watching from Rahal's car as they go down the front section of the track here.
Update on Montermini. Let's go to Jan Vikas.
Paul Montermini did come into the pits. He did receive the black flag. The crew wanted to leave him out, said the car was fine with that bent wing. They came in, removed the one that was damaged. They jumped over the wall to put the new wing on, and Montermini, with no radio communication, just took off. So he's out on the course without a front wing. I assume, I mean, he can race that way, but there's no front downforce, Paul.
Well, there's a story to keep an eye on. It's Montermini, who has been spectacular. Remember, he had a wonderful run at Detroit this year on the road course. Paul Tracy closes on Rahal.
Tracy has been fighting with this car all weekend. He said it's almost the front and the back are separated. He cannot get the balance. He has understeer turning in, and then the car transfers into oversteer or a loose condition coming out. Fought it all the time, but actually liked the car on full tanks this morning, which was the first time he ran on full tanks.
Now, to continue the saga of Montermini, they're bringing him back in with a black flag. He violated the pit speed limit on the way out.
Well,
battle for second place. Tracy looking for room on the inside.
Tracy's so strong as these races develop, particularly on full tanks when the race goes 5, 10, 15 laps. Tracy and this Penske is always very, very threatening.
Scott Goodyear just turned the fastest lap thus far in the race at 104.2 miles an hour.
He got a great start. We saw exactly what he did. He actually hung back half a car width from Rahal and then got the jump, and he was away into that first corner first.
Of course, you're on board with Rahal, looking back there toward Paul Tracy as they come under the stadium again. And the battle is at the front of the field, a fight for second.
This is the faster of the chicanes. They go through there at 60 miles an hour, accelerate all the way to 160 through this section here and get on the brakes for turn 10, and it's very slippery in the braking zone. Look at Tracy down the inside.
Tracy takes advantage of the braking maneuver from Rahal, who locked up the left side going into the corner. Tracy ducked underneath and moves into second place. At the same time, just behind this fight, Nigel Mansell and Unser Jr. are circulating together. They're not fighting right now, and both are being wonderfully careful. So it's Scott Goodyear that continues to lead here at Vancouver, and Paul Tracy has just taken over second place.
The Suzuki GSXRs. First, they win more road races than any production motorcycle in history. License plate on them. The new liquid-cooled GSXRs, now available in 600, 750, and 1100 octane.
Dear Midas, after getting an outrageous estimate at my dealer, I came back to your shop. Your mechanics,
John, Jim,
Ron,
Robert,
gave me a free estimate, stayed late to finish the job, and even pointed out that my brake pads were under warranty, saving me a lot. I was so thankful for not being taken advantage of. I bought them all lunch the next day. Thank you, Sarah Acco.
College football fans, ABC Sports and ESPN pay-per-view have your season ticket to the best and most gridiron action. College football pay-per-view. In addition to the games on ESPN and your ABC station, get regional games that you otherwise couldn't see locally from the nation's top teams and conferences. Act now and you can order at the lowest price of the season. Call your cable company today.
Back with the IndyCars in Vancouver, on board Nigel Mansell, who has dropped a position. He was battling with Unser Jr., and little Al was able to tuck underneath him and get past and pick up the position. That put Unser Jr. into fourth place, Mansell back to fifth. Here is the situation as Paul Tracy moved on Bobby Rahal.
Now, when Rahal is turning right, that inside wheel, which is the right side wheel, is lightly loaded because he's turning the car to the right. The braking zones are very slippery. All he has to do is move offline. Tracy sees it, and he pounces down the inside. Rahal is offline and can do nothing about it.
Has no choice. It's Paul Tracy or the wall at that point. He chose to drop back just a bit. Tracy goes into second place, so Canadians run 1-2. Unser Jr., of course. Look at this. It's Paul Tracy making a move on the leader of the race. So the two Canadians battle at the front of the field, but Goodyear holds him off.
Whoa, this is a great engine battle here too, because we have Ford versus Chevrolet, and I don't know what happened there. Goodyear may have missed a gear because Tracy suddenly got right up behind him. Rahal is there too. We have a great fight here, and Goodyear leads. Two Canadians running 1-2.
Interesting comparative of engine battles here between Ford and Chevrolet.
Well, this battle has raged all year long, and it's been tremendous. Manufacturers fighting it out on the racetrack here. Look at Tracy, though. He is all over Scott Goodyear.
Bobby Rahal closes in on Tracy as well. Here comes Unser Jr. now widely separated from Nigel Mansell.
Tracy was so pleased with this car this morning. As the race goes on, this car has tended to get better. Here he comes.
Tracy looks at traffic ahead. They both get side by side. Scott Goodyear finally has to get it up, and Tracy takes the lead of the race. Rahal comes by instead.
Exactly the same place as he passed Rahal earlier on. And what happened here, though? Goodyear went right out into the dusty gray area and went from first to third in one easy swoop. But look at this, it's not over yet.
Goodyear's not giving up at all. There's plenty of traffic ahead, and Unser Jr. is closing in as well. Scott Goodyear right on the back of Rahal's car. Tracy begins to pull a little bit away now. But look at the traffic they have to handle.
Traffic jam, that's Jeff Wood trying to keep out of the way. Look at Al Jr., he's all over Goodyear.
Unser Jr. makes the charge on Goodyear now. Drops off as they come under BC Place.
Junior qualified fifth, said afterwards he thought the car was very good as he's had it on a street circuit this year. And if he says that, you know he'll be strong in the race. And here's the pass. Turn 10, the end of the lap. Tracy down the inside. Look at Goodyear, turns in. Now look what happens, Goodyear. He's on the dust and dirt, and Rahal is on the right-hand side. Whips into second, look at this!
And Rahal now moves on Tracy. Bobby Rahal makes a move and picks off Tracy going into the first corner. Quickest car in the morning practice, and it's beginning to show as Rahal, that tough year that he has suffered, may now finally be over. He's at the lead of a race.
How did he pull that off? It's only a short run up the front straight here. It's a flat left-hander, and he was side by side with Tracy as he approached the left-hander. How did he pull that one off?
Unbelievable piece of driving by a Rahal who is very fired up this weekend. He's had a wonderfully good weekend and has been doing very well. In fact, for a while in that battle for the pole, everyone thought that Rahal was going to lock the pole up, and then Goodyear reached down and was able to pull the pole out in the final moments of qualifying.
Rahal, after the morning qualifying, or the morning warm-up this morning, had that smirk, the confident smirk on his face, saying this car is very good. Remember, he got derailed in his championship run at Indianapolis when he had that disaster, and he's been trying to catch up ever since. This might be his strongest run.
So Unser Jr. goes into third place. Unser Jr. around Goodyear, I should say, going into third place. So Scott Goodyear settling back for the moment. I wonder why he's not able to fight with these other runners. He was so quick yesterday.
So quick yesterday, and this morning, after the warm-up, he seemed to be reasonably happy with the car. However, it's not good right now.
Looking back to take a look at Bobby Rahal's pass of Tracy, you can just get a glimpse beyond the gearbox of Tracy's wheel. And as they got down into the first corner, Rahal just shut the door on him and drove away.
Tracy must have missed a gear, or else he was slow out of that last turn, because for Rahal to actually drive around the outside of him on that short straight and go around the outside on turn one, I mean, something must have happened, Tracy. You just don't do that.
Let's get an update on Scott Goodyear from Jan.
Paul, you were asking about what's happening with Scott Goodyear. That's exactly what the crew wants to know. They radioed to him, no response. It appears as though they've lost radio communication with Scott Goodyear. He did say in the morning warm-up that when the car got hot, that the rear tires got too hot and he lost traction. Just speculation. The crew does not know what the problem is. Paul?
Or the radio's working fine and Scott doesn't have any idea at all. Nigel Mansell closing in on the back of Goodyear now. Mansell runs in fifth place. There he is.
Traction.
Points leader.
Traction is the key to speed here, because you slow down for these chicanes so much and then you jump on the power. 750 horsepower trying to go through those rear tires, and when it begins to spin, they overheat so quickly, then you lose grip, and then things just exaggerate themselves from then on, and you go downhill.
And as with so many temporary circuits, different kinds of surfaces throughout the track, and that takes its toll on the tires during the run of the day.
Watch Mansell's head. Look at the way it bounces around. These bumps are so severe along this front straight here. That's usually what you get, though, in these street circuits. Now we're into traffic. Who is that? Matsushita. Mastada. What's his name?
No, you did it right.
Mastada is actually the correct name. We've used Matsushita, Matsushita, Hero, Mitsubishi, Panasonic, Japanese driver. Take your pick.
So Mansell works his way out from under the stadium as the front of the field for the moment has settled down, but not without a great deal of change here in the early going.
Mansell actually believed he could have been on the pole here. His very last lap of qualifying was 2/10 quicker than everything else he did, which was good enough to put him on the pole, except he was balked by Montermini at the last turn, which actually infuriated him because he realized how important track position would be at this early stage in the race. So Mansell thought he could have been on the pole.
You can imagine how they felt when they looked at the computer and realized that he was that close. Rahal is still the leader.
After 50 years of playing the game of Monopoly with ease, you can now play with one of these. The Instant Monopoly game from the Virginia Lottery. You could win up to $20,000, and all the money will be green.
Cars go, this model year is coming to an end. That's why the 93 Nissan Altima is going so fast. Stop by your Nissan dealer today. We'll give you something to celebrate.
Well, you want to know where some of the best caviar comes from? Well, you can find out at the Vancouver Aquarium. There's a beluga whale, so graceful, pure white. They have several of them there. It's a magnificent attraction over in Stanley Park. Back on the race course, Bobby Rahal, the leader of the race, looking back a fairly clear course behind him, because Paul Tracy is running 1.5 seconds back, but even as we speak, Tracy begins to close up. Still, there is an intervening car, a lap car that Tracy now gets around. We look at the full running order. In third place, Unser Jr., after battling with both Scott Goodyear and Nigel Mansell. So the race stuttered to a start here with two yellow flags in the very early going. We're now on the 21st lap. 102 laps the scheduled distance.
And a good battle here. We see Emerson Fittipaldi currently second in the championship, but struggling, not able to get out of that 9th position. But Johansson just had a tremendous tussle with TLC-VB, just manages to squeak past him. And who's behind Emerson? Mario Andretti. Two big names running very far down the order.
Here comes Unser Jr. as he moves inside of Tracy, and something has to be wrong there. Look the car over. Yes, something's got to be wrong. Something's wrong with Tracy. He slows on the course. Here comes Goodyear pass. Tracy falling back in the order. Mansell coming up to overhaul. Tracy just trying to get it into the pits. Let's go to Jan.
Paul, we could hear Tracy as he went by. It turns out he has a bad misfire. He came by the pits. Tracy, it's an engine-related, probably electronic problem. Big misfire for Tracy. That's why he's slowing.
Somewhat precariously now, the whole field tries to get past. Roger Penske talks with his young champion, but Tracy is struggling to get it around even as far as the pits right now.
I don't think he's going to make it. A bad misfire has become a terrible misfire. No, I'd be shocked if he makes it around. Remember, the championship battle may be going out the window with this misfire here on Paul Tracy's car.
And look at what Penske Racing is suffering this weekend, as he's a good half a lap yet away from the pits to try to make it back from there. This was really their hope. Fittipaldi was having problems throughout the weekend as Derek just mentioned, he was locked in a battle for 9th and not moving forward at all. And now suddenly Tracy is struck with this. Maybe if he can get it back, they'll be able to repair it. It might just be an electronic box change, but it's going to take him a long time to get there, even if they can do it.
Yeah, and for the championship fight, he has to beat Mansell, and he really needs to finish first or second. That's over with for today. So as Tracy's problems become bigger and bigger, it actually begins to make Mansell's job of winning the championship easier and easier.
And Tracy has stopped on the course. That brings out a full course yellow because it's such a precarious position. They'll get Tracy off the course, back to the pits. Maybe the full course will actually go to his advantage, but Bobby Rahal takes advantage of the yellow on lap 23 very early in the window to come in and take on fuel, as does Unser Jr. Here's Gary Gerald.
This was the best qualifying effort of the year for Bobby Rahal. They liked the setup that they had at Toronto when they qualified 3rd, finished 4th. They're looking for better things today. Absolutely routine, and they're out quickly. Oh, almost contact as Tracy did get it into the pits. I'm sorry, it was Fittipaldi and Goodyear. Let's go to Jan Dekus.
Scott Goodyear has just left, Gary. He had supreme performance here in the pits. They got the 4 tires on. They got them fueled up. You're now looking at Mario Andretti, who came in a little bit sideways. Now he's trying to get out. Just misses his teammates' tires and underway.
I'll be very interested in seeing what the radar readouts are as Bobby Rahal and Unser Jr. came out, since they seem obsessed with keeping those speed limits so tightly here. It seemed like they were racing right to the end of the pits, and they might have gotten above it.
On the way out, they were okay. On the way in, you have to be careful because they're at this end of the pit lane. So really, they can almost accelerate as far as they want as the safety crew stick a rope onto Paul Tracy's championship dreams.
Rahal, the leader under yellow.
Because they are easy.
The Suzuki Chitala 600, easily identified flying object. Announcing the biggest advance in Quaker State history. It's Quaker State's new advanced high-tech formula motor oil. Superior protection against wear. Superior protection against heat and stress. Superior cleaning power. New advanced Quaker State motor oil. It's formulated for today's high-tech engines. And now announcing the biggest rebate in Quaker State history. Get a $4.20 cashback rebate to try new advanced high-tech formula Quaker State.
If it were just to win more trophies, we wouldn't be here. But there's a side to Ford racing you won't find in the sports page. It's learning how to make your car safer by racing 200 miles an hour in heavy traffic. And learning how a granite roller coaster can make your truck even tougher. Because when it comes to developing technology for your Ford, there shouldn't be any limits. That's why we race. Of course, we're not about to give back all our trophies. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Off the road, on the road. The Suzuki Dual Sport 350S. It's a vicious cycle.
Tonight it's ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball as Kirby Puckett and the Twins will visit with Frank Thomas and the White Sox. Minnesota versus the Chicago White Sox tonight on ESPN. Well, there's been quite a bit of action here today. In the pit stops, a couple of little occurrences. Well, perhaps not so little if you're involved. As Unser Jr. came out, look at how he got together with Emerson Fittipaldi in his battle to try to catch and get around Rahal. Just a light touch. At the same time, Nigel Mansell had a problem coming out of the pits.
He got in, he got serviced, and he stalled the engine on the way out. They had to pull him back, so he has dropped down now to 10th place.
And Paul Tracy, they've been trying to get him back in. He's finally there, Jan?
Yes, they have towed him in, Paul, and they feel it might be the battery. They can change a battery on these cars very quickly. The crew has got the lid off. They're going to try and change the battery and check for anything else that it might be, because it did sound electrical. They did radio to Paul and say, check the battery voltage. So they do know ahead of time that that is what they're looking for. They also have telemetry. If the battery is what it is, Paul could get back up to speed.
Well, Paul Tracy has fallen 3 laps behind the race, though the presence of this full course yellow has helped him immensely. Here they were before the pit stops on the left and how they came out of the pit stops. The Mansell situation is the key.
And we mentioned on street circuits, when it's so tight, races can be won or lost in the pit lane. That hasn't happened, but you can see how Mansell suddenly loses 5 positions in one fell swoop of a stalled engine.
Arie Luyendyk, who came in here with some pretty good points, will leave with none. He's with Gary Gerald.
Arie was one of the victims early in this competition. It really was wild on that first lap. Everybody feared there might be problems. How did you see it from your cockpit?
Well, arriving at turn 1, the field basically came to a complete standstill going into that turn. And I was just basically sitting there waiting my turn to go around the corner. And I got hit from behind by Scott Brayton, who launched himself over me and landed on the front of my car. But he also at the same time pushed me into another car, which bent my suspension. So basically it was over then. I think it's kind of a chain reaction type thing that happened there. But it's too bad because I didn't really work up a sweat today.
I remember a couple of years ago, maybe the first year here, you had a problem, I think, on the opening lap down there sweeping through that first corner. It's not been good to you here in Vancouver.
No, but that time it was my own fault, and this time it wasn't, which, you know, it's just one of those days.
We look forward to seeing it at Mid-Ohio in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
If he hasn't worked up a sweat, does that mean Chip Ganassi has to pay him for the day? They continue working on Paul Tracy's car. We continue to be under a full chorus yellow because Johnny Unser slowed down on the track in his 19 car.
Introducing the new 1994 Acura Integra. Not since Hot Wheels has a car been this fun. Track sold separately. Come test drive the new Integra at your local Acura dealer.
Special smiles are one of life's pure joys. Sometimes it's your smile. Sometimes it's the smile of others. That's what you get back when you contribute to the Virginia Special Olympics. We need your help for these heroes. Together we win. To contribute, call 800-932-GOLD. Virginia Special Olympics, celebrating 25 years of special smiles.
Heavyweight Championship. Tommy the Duke Morrison defends his title before a hometown crowd against Mike Williams.
Hey, look, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, right? And I plan to take advantage of it and knocking Tommy Morrison out.
I'm just sorry I have to do this to you.
Plus, Iran the Blade Barkley battles Dino Stewart, the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Live tomorrow night at 9 Eastern only on ESPN.
Still under a full course yellow, but anticipating a green. The story on Paul Tracy, Jan.
Paul is in. They're still working on it. The reason he's here, it was more than a battery, Paul. A burnt wire that goes to the alternator. They've rushed back to the transporter. They're going to try and replace it, but he's losing lots of time.
Now he continues to fall behind. He's now 4 laps behind the lead of the race. Most of those under yellow. They're going to go to the green flag here, and then laps will begin to whirl away rather quickly for young Paul Tracy. Bobby Rahal is the leader. Al Unser Jr., you saw it when they came out of the pits. We thought we were going to have a chance to get a look at it, but we're going to run out of time. We'll take a look at the start of the race as Al Unser Jr. tucks in right behind Rahal and looks for a way to get around the outside. Rahal takes a more conventional line into the corner.
Remember last year when Al Jr. tried to make positions, he ran into Fittipaldi and almost turned himself upside down. Then he ran into the tire wall, and he still managed to finish.
Al Unser Jr. loves this track, has won here, and is feeling very racy this weekend. Of course, he's the center of a lot of rumors this weekend as to where he's going to go next year.
This is through the chicanes. This is through the tunnel, down to the second of the chicanes, the faster of them. 60 miles an hour they go through here. Breaking down to just below 50.
You're not going to ask me what those rumors are.
What are those rumors, Paul?
He's going to go everywhere. Name a team, he's probably going to go there.
Well,
that's the season. Look at little Al as he tried on the hairpin again to get inside of Rahal.
Was that Rahal again with that brake smoke? Did he lock up that right front again in that slippery braking zone? Well, if he did, Al Jr. will recognize that fact also and maybe use that as an attacking point. There he is, right behind him.
Yeah, Al doesn't have a brain. He's got a computer that just catalogs all that. Next time around, he'll say, I remember that. We'll just go over here.
You can see Scott Goodyear's also there right behind Al Unser Jr. Now, maybe fresh tires is what Goodyear needed. You see him here watching what the 2 boys ahead of him do, trying to hang on, trying to make a challenge.
And he's coming right on the pace with the front of the field. Behind him, just about a second back, is Stefan Johansson. There he is as he closes in with Rahal Boisel just behind him, so the top 5 are still in close contact on the course.
Johansson went all the way from 11th on the grid to running 4th now, mainly because he had a great pit stop, but he did get some positions on the racetrack earlier. You see Tracy, the bottom right side of the picture, still in trouble in the pit lane.
Unser Jr. looks to the inside this time, decides instead to follow Rahal through.
Rahal has been mugged from behind before here. Remember Johansson last year? Down the inside, Rahal hit him and ended up smack into the tire barrier.
Well, that race changed the whole complexion of the points fight because Rahal left here with 0 points. Was furious with Johansson for engaging him that way, though Johansson was going for a position. In fact, that move finally got him a podium finish here.
Rahal now enjoys the full support and cooperation of Lola cars. Everything that Lola has in the development stage, Rahal gets it to try and make this car faster, to put Lola back at the head of the field. Why? Well, there's a major threat now to the championships because of Reynard's introduction to IndyCar racing next year. Now Lola want to spread their wings a little bit and help as many people be as competitive as possible.
You saw Paul Tracy on his way out of the pits after a 9-minute pit stop. They were at least able to get it refired. We'll see if it comes up to full speed. What about Scott Goodyear? His problems, his day. Here's Jan.
When we were talking about Scott Goodyear earlier, it was Derek that was talking about how hard it is to get traction here. And we speculated that those tires were getting hot and the rear tires were not getting grip. During that caution flag, they could talk to him by radio. It turns out that is exactly the problem. Now that he's on fresh tires, of course it will work for a while, but they have not made any chassis changes, meaning that once those tires get hot, he'll probably start dropping back again. Maybe next pit stop they can change the car.
But Derek, those tires went away pretty quickly. Is that something everybody else faces?
Believe it or not, this weekend here, it takes 3 to 5 laps to warm the tires properly. Then you get 2 to 3 laps at the optimum working temperature, but then they do tend to go off quickly. However, if the car isn't balanced properly and you have wheel spin, the tires go off very, very quickly.
We'll get a good measurement here on how Paul Tracy's doing because the leader of the race, Bobby Rahal, just came up and overhauled him, as did second place Unser Jr. Paul Tracy in the 12th car coming out of the pits 9 minutes behind the rest of the race and 8 laps now behind. Has quite a distance to make up, but it appears that the engine is now running properly, though Paul's spirit may be gone at the moment.
And he'd love to be in the middle of that fight and stay there, but realistically, Scott Goodyear, I'm sure, will get frustrated if Tracy stays there and if he thinks he's holding him up even a small bit, because look, well, you can see it even here now. Look how much Goodyear has lost to the leading 2 cars.
Of course, both Scott Goodyear and Paul Tracy are very, very popular in front of this Canadian crowd, and they're aware of the crowd here. It urges them on, but I think it also can have a negative impact. Goodyear around Tracy, continues his pursuit. Tracy runs all alone now and is no longer a factor in this race.
Former teammates here, Rahal and Al Jr. They didn't get on that well when they were teammates because they each wanted #1 status. I can understand that between professional drivers. Rahal took a little bit of time off before he got here. Arrived relaxed and freshened up. He and his wife Debbie took a short holiday in Jacksonville, Wyoming between races. He doesn't often get to do that during racing seasons.
Fighters at the front of the field. Unser Jr. has the fastest lap in the race now at 107.3 miles an hour. He turned that on the 21st lap when the car was getting very light on fuel. 33 laps are now complete, 102 laps the scheduled distance. Circuit's 10 turns, 1.64 miles around. Michael Andretti has won twice here. Unser Jr. once, the 3 previous years of this race.
I mentioned the Reynard chassis. The Minardi Formula One team have had representatives over here discussing the possibility of them building Indy cars for some teams over here. So Minardi also wants to produce an Indy car.
So the fight remains at the front of the field as Bobby Rahal tries to hold off Unser Jr. Scott Goodyear rides in 3rd, followed by Stefan Johansson.
Engine performance to the max.
Performax from Pennzoil. Drain interval protection to the max. Performax from Pennzoil. Engine protection to the max. Performax from Pennzoil. New synthetic motor oil with Pennzoil's exclusive star molecule. Protects engine parts at ignition. Works like liquid ball bearings. Hangs tough during the most extreme driving conditions. Performax. Protects to the max.
Let's see what Kevin left us this time.
You mean what he didn't leave us?
Hey guys, thanks for watching the place again. Sorry there's no food, but the Celica's in the garage.
We need eggs.
Definitely eggs.
We gotta have orange juice.
Freshly squeezed orange juice. Why don't we get some bacon?
Make that Canadian bacon.
The Toyota Celica. Bringing home the bacon has never been so much fun.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
Here's a 3-1, and Jackson hits it hard and deep to center. Fly away! Oh, Jackson drills that one center field. 400. Reedus looking up in the night. Goodbye, home run halfway up.
It's time to get serious.
Back in Vancouver, the fight continues at the front of the field. You just saw the leaders pull through as we take a look at the rundown as it stood on lap 35 just one lap ago. And no changes have occurred in that one lap. You're watching Scott Goodyear as he tries to chase down first and second place Bobby Rahal and Unser Jr. But they just disappeared into the first corner, a full straightaway ahead of Goodyear. Stefan Johansson with a nice run in fourth place. The thing to keep in mind is the position of Emerson Fittipaldi. He runs right now in sixth place. He has been in an on-again, off-again fight with TLC-VB. But the key here is he's in sixth place while Mansell is in 10th. And they are first and second in the points fight for the PPG Cup right now.
Look at the traffic jam here. That's Dominic Dobson in the Galmar on the outside line. Moves to the outside, trying to let the leaders go through here. But here's Danny Sullivan following Mario Andretti. Danny Sullivan and Mario, some of the biggest names in IndyCar racing, running at the moment in 8th and 9th place.
It's a battle for 8th place as you're back at the front of the field for the moment. Unser Jr. continuing to worry Bobby Rahal and push him at every corner.
This Galmar Lola has enjoyed a lot of development from Galmar Engineering, headed up by Alan Mertens. They have different geometry on this car. They do have different underwings since the car started the season. So an ongoing development program that Galmar have undertaken themselves to make this car a little bit faster. It seems to be working.
11 cars on the leader lap. In 11th place, it's Jimmy Vasser. What about the points? How would they look if suddenly this season were to come to an end? Well, Emerson Fittipaldi still remains in second. But his position is strengthened right now because he runs in front of Mansell. So Fittipaldi needs much more than just a finish in sixth place. He needs a couple of victories. And in fact, he also needs Mansell to finish out of the points at least once.
So Rahal, who seems to have the momentum at the right time of the season. Remember when he won his championships, he came on so strong at the end of the season. Well, he enjoyed his best run of the season at Elkhart Lake, got off the victory rostrum for the first time since Long Beach, and came here feeling very, very good and confident. He broke a cylinder liner in one of his Chevrolet engines on Friday, and he believed he could have been fastest in that session if he hadn't had that engine trouble.
Let's keep track of Danny Sullivan here. You want to know how rough this course is?
Just watch how the trees disappear over his head, too, even though now this is the slowest corner. Look at that. He goes inside Marco Greco. That was in Dennis McCormick's car.
So Danny Sullivan now heading for the stadium. Jan Bikas, you have an update on Danny?
Yes, we have an update as to why Danny is dropping back. He is radioed into the pits that he's low on boost. Now, we don't know if that's a wastegate problem or a pop-off valve problem. And as you guys know, it's those pop-off valves that cause mayhem down here for these crews. Next year, they should have an updated model.
Sullivan runs in 9th place. In fact, you just get a glimpse there of Mansell closing behind him. And Jimmy Vasser is right behind Mansell. So the young sophomore of the series doing a nice fight with the reigning world champion and current points leader. But Mansell has already indicated to almost everyone that the job now is a championship, and it's to garner as many points as he can. Mario and Teo battle just ahead of Danny Sullivan.
And Mario has struggled this weekend. Cannot get this car to turn into these corners and go through them as quickly as he liked. He has been just off the pace. Remember, you only need to be a little bit off the pace because the top 10 cars here were all in the 1 second. You get caught behind and you end up in this traffic jam. And even if you're faster, it's so difficult to make a pass here. But at the moment, he doesn't look faster than Teo Fabi even.
Approaching the halfway point, 41 laps are now complete. And Jimmy Vasser, we just mentioned him, and he's off the course. He obviously has caught something. Damage to the left front of the car. He was chasing Nigel Mansell just a few seconds ago. Here it is. He's already hit something there.
I think whoever he was chasing, he caught him. He caught him much faster than he realized. That looks as if he actually hit either the wall or another car. Tears that left front suspension up. Great shame. This is a 92 Lola, but they have the Ford engine in this car, and Jimmy Vasser looked very, very strong.
Yellow going out in that section of the course only because he is secure off the edge of the race course. But the question we now have to ask is, was the contact with Nigel Mansell? And if so, is his car sound?
Well, we don't know that yet, so maybe we can keep an eye on it. We have the luxury, obviously, of looking out the window here out of our commentary booth to see what's going on as Mansell goes by. If he goes by, he's probably in good shape.
Nothing obvious in his times, though he continues well back in the field. And the front runners again begin to encounter slower traffic. And with that, as they come up on Matsushita, it's Bobby Rahal that's being closed on by Unser Jr. again.
And this is a great fight here. Now, this traffic is playing a bit of a role here. Matsushita needs to move out of the way. He can't pass under yellow, so no matter if he does move out of the way, they really can't drive by.
All reports indicate that Mansell is satisfied with the car and no report of contact between he and Jimmy Vasser.
Watch out, Junior here. Down. Oh,
full course yellow comes out. Full course comes out right then. So we go to a full course caution as Unser Jr. comes along. And Rahal comes back to the lead because Unser Jr. recognizes the full course yellow. So once again, we'll slow the entire field down with 42 laps complete at Vancouver.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Red balls of fire! You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will, what a thrill. Driven at the razor, red balls of fire.
Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
You can feel it deep inside. Dedication and a real sense of pride. And you're giving it your best. Proud to be your bud. Budweiser. Proud to be your bud. Proud to be your bud. Ooh, yeah. Proud to be your bud. Proud to be your bud.
Next Sunday, ESPN's racing coverage continues with the Southern 500. Coverage at 1 o'clock Eastern, live from Darlington, South Carolina. Well, Nigel Mansell's car appears to be in good order. We are under the full course caution right now. Let's go pit side with an update from Gary.
Well, here's Scott Brayton, and Scott is disputing some of the earlier information that we got from Arie Luyendyk about what happened early in this race, because there was almost like a parking lot down there. Now, what happened from your viewpoint?
Well, the traffic was slowed up, and I went to the outside, and right as I got alongside of Arie, he started, I think, or right as I was approaching him, he started to get the same idea to go on the outside, and so we bumped front wheels, and it put me along the concrete wall there. And as I was going down along there, then I got my right rear wheel got me up in the air, and so it bent my suspension, and we couldn't continue. But it was very congested, very tight, and it's just a racing accident.
Tough day, because you had the crew had to make an engine change after the morning warm-up session to just get you out here to take that green flag.
It's been a very tough weekend, and my Amway crew did an excellent job, and I got to thank all of them, and we'll get them at Mid-Ohio.
All right, Scott, thanks.
Thank you.
Paul?
Scott always leaves it on an up note. There was a report that this car was spraying a great deal of oil and may have slickened up the entire surface. Let's go back and take a look at the replay.
Well, Jimmy Vasser did not hit Nigel Mansell. Watch what happens here. Not able to pull the car back, clouts that outside concrete wall, and that is enough to break off that left front suspension. Send it for his checkbook.
Speaking of Nigel Mansell, as this is Paul Tracy coming back in once again, let's get an update on Nigel from Jan.
Yes, Paul, and Paul Tracy is coming in just to get fuel and tires. His car is okay. Now, Mansell has now radioed in during the caution, saying the car is very loose. He's really getting sideways in the first turn just past the pits. The crew radioed back to him, just hang in there. When you come in for the next stop, we can make a rear wing wicker change, which will give you more downforce. So Mansell not happy with the balance of that car. Paul Tracy, in the meantime, has been out of the pits.
How much do you think that's the oil that's on the course for Marco Greco's car?
I don't think it is at all, because after the warm-up this morning, Mansell was complaining about the car oversteering. That was the one thing that Peter Gibbons, his engineer, was trying to work on to sort out for him. And what it is, basically, it's an extension of the same type of problem that Scott Goodyear has. Keeping the rear tires on these cars and in good order is the key to speed here. Where are we? In Canada.
Vancouver.
Yes, I knew where some of those places.
Bobby Rahal leads this race. His partner is in the pits now with Gary Gerald.
Indeed. Carl Hogan. Carl, it's great to see this team back up here in front, and I know nobody's happier than you and the people that surround you. Is there anything in particular that's happened to put you back up here as a contender?
Well, I think, we hadn't tested much this year with a new car, and the last couple of weeks we've been able to test at Nazareth and Mid-Ohio, and I think we're starting to learn what the car likes and what it doesn't like. And this course is not a real horsepower course, it's a handling course, and the car is handling very well. And we felt good when it got out of the truck. It was well, and Bobby's good. He's ready to go.
Now, I know there was disappointment that you didn't get the point from the pole position, but yet you had kind of a philosophical aspect about it's better to be angry about things like that than be angry about being back in the middle of the pack.
It's been a long time since we've complained about being on the front row and not at the pole.
All right, thank you, Carl.
Sure.
Well, Carl can spin around to watch his driver, Bobby Rahal, take the green flag as we come back to full speed racing once again with Rahal at the head of the field, chased still by Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, Stefan Johansson, and Rahal Boycell. They are all pulled up together. And then Fittipaldi runs in 6th place. He'll have to improve on that position if he really wants to keep his championship hopes alive.
Good pictures here of Scott Goodyear. He will have a fight on his hands now as Johansson begins to claw his way closer and closer to his rear wing, because Johansson has made great strides here in the race, and we know Goodyear is not that happy with the wheel spin on the back end of his car.
And to add further confirmation, Jimmy Vasser has now reported on his return to the pits that he did not make contact with Nigel Mansell. It was all with the walls. So Nigel's car at least appears to be sound. Update on Stefan now, Jan.
Well, they were very concerned, the Bettenhausen crew, about fuel mileage. Now they don't have to be. They're starting to be able to turn Stefan loose. They say the car is handling very well. It has good traction, but not as quick through the chicanes as the Lola. That's one of the things they talk about the Penske cars, is that it doesn't change direction as quickly. It may put the power down well, but they're suffering right now in the chicane. They're hoping they can move up. Paul?
Well, we may be starting to name this the Mansell move because it's happened now for the third time this year. He doesn't have to worry about his contact with Jimmy Vasser. Maybe he does have to worry about the fact that he had a light brush with the wall over in 3. We'll keep an eye on Mansell with that one as well. He is certainly not in contention at the front of the field. In fact, he should show up just ahead of Bobby Rahal here shortly because he is the last car on the leader lap in 11th place.
In 11th place, he did lose a position to Roberto Guerrero when he did have that wall brushing moment. And Mansell, the one who said he's going to take it easy, not take any unnecessary chances, because the championship is what he's fighting for. We spoke about track position earlier. See how important it is? Mansell went from 5th to 10th and has never made up that track position back out on the racetrack. Bentley's in trouble.
Ross Bentley from here in Vancouver, off the edge of the course, out of harm's way, unless they want to get that car restarted and get it going again. Bentley was running in 12th place. Still looking to see if Mansell appears ahead of Bobby Rahal. Rahal's having a spectacular day, seems to be able to handle all comers and to keep Little Al back.
This is where we were used to seeing the Miller Genuine draft car all last year at the front of the field, and he struggled so much. It's amazing how small things, you watch the rear wishbone bounce up and down here, but it's amazing how some of the small things hamper your performance and put you back down the field where you're not normally used to being. But the measure of a good team is whether you can survive those dark and difficult patches and come back out on top again. This is the mark of a good team here.
You just saw there, too, a good example of that accordion effect that happens in corners under braking. It looks like the second-place car is pulling right up on top of the one it's chasing. That's, of course, because in that case, Rahal was hard on the brakes. That allowed Little Al to close, but then Rahal comes off the corner first and accelerates away, and essentially they go back to the same static position. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, no radio confirmation from Nigel Mansell to the crew about having brushed the wall, but they do acknowledge a stability problem, a handling problem with the race car. They think that on the next stop they'll go up a bit on tire pressure and see if that'll impact the handling characteristics, but it's just one of those days where he's just kind of soldiering along, trying to protect points at mid-pack.
Well, if they're playing with that, Derek, it sounds like they're just searching, that they don't have any real answers at all.
For a team who has been so dominant on so many occasions this year, yet in Toronto it was a disaster for them, and it's not a good day here in Vancouver either on street circuits.
Got a glimpse there of Mansell. Teo Fabi, he runs, actually a glimpse of Mario as Teo Fabi tries to hold off Mario and Danny Sullivan.
Use a tire that doesn't cost too much, and we'll go 60,000 miles. Is that too much?
I need tires that work in bad weather as well as good.
Appreciate comfortable, quiet performance tires that'll last.
Performance, performance, performance. That about sums it up.
The car is capable of over 200 miles an hour. I certainly wouldn't expect less of the tires.
No matter what you drive, no matter what your budget, there's a perfect Pirelli tire.
This is a line. To some, it is seen as a barrier. To others, it's a point where traditions of the past are abandoned in favor of visions of the future. Introducing the revolutionary new Toyota Supra. It's taken everything sports cars were before and crossed the line.
Friction. Metal grinding on metal. Friction can wear your engine down. Friction can shorten its life. This is Pennzoil, the friction-fighting motor oil that protects more engines than any other motor oil in America. Choose Pennzoil. Use Pennzoil, and you'll get quality engine protection in each and every drop. Pennzoil. Performance, protection, quality.
Locked in a battle for third place now is Scott Goodyear with Stefan Johansson just behind him. Scott just completely lost it a couple of corners back. Here's how it happened.
Now watch his hands on the steering wheel. Look up in the cockpit. Look, he's all over the place trying to catch and hold on to that car. He's way offline. And Johansson isn't quite close enough to make the move.
And staring that wall right in the face here from the onboard camera.
Watch, he takes his hands off the wheel. Right off the wheel, actually hits the windscreen. Catches it just in time and drags her back on to the racing line.
And you tell me his heart is not pounding, but he still has to deal with the fact that in that little mistake there, Johansson closed and is now sitting right on the back of Scott Goodyear's third-place car.
It's so difficult sometimes to get these cars handling properly.
Well, the handling here, as well as everywhere with the Indy cars now, is so very, very sensitive.
Exactly, and one of the areas that a lot of these people are beginning to work on is shock absorbers. That seems to be the magic black art right now. I mean, Newman Haas runs Olin shock absorbers. Ken Anderson, who works for AJ Foyt, has his own quantum shock absorbers. Brian Berthold, who works for Ganassi, has his own design, which I've in fact used to great effect in my Nissan days. But Derek Walker has now moved to the Penske shock absorber, and they actually attribute those shock absorbers to Scott Goodyear's pole position time. I think Jan Beekes has more on that story.
Well, as far as those shock absorbers and Penske shock absorbers, right now all the front runners are on them, and yet they're not Penske cars. And when Scott Goodyear scored that pole position, he attributed, like you said, Derek, a lot of that to those shock absorbers. And Paul Tracy said, man, we shouldn't sell those things. Well, they were talking up and down the pit lane. Are the shocks on the Penske car the same as what's available to the Lola? Well, last year they had 4-way adjustable shocks. Now all the Lola cars only have 3-way. It turns out that Penske is giving these Lola competitors the exact same shock they use, a 3-way valve shock. So Penske shock absorbers is giving their competitors something that's making them go right to the front.
Well, Paul Tracy's going to learn something from Roger Penske there, that Roger is a sportsman. He really wants to know if he's beaten you, that he's done it with absolutely the best equipment, not only on his own car, but on both cars. So if he's got something good, you can bet you're going to end up with it.
And of course, he's also a businessman, so he's going to charge you for it, and then he's going to make a profit, and then he's really happy.
And that's why Roger's bank account is a whole lot better than yours and mine.
Exactly.
Emerson Fittipaldi, as he continues his pursuit. And you saw the movement through the field, or actually more realistic, the lack of movement for Emerson Fittipaldi.
I don't know why it is, but Emerson just seems to have lost that little spark that is so necessary in this final drive for the championship. He hasn't qualified well in the last 2 or 3 races. I mean, in 10th place for Emerson in a Penske car is something unusual, but that little spark of aggression or whatever it is just seems to be missing from Emerson in his package at the moment.
Jason and the whole family are here this weekend as children. Is he distracted by that, maybe?
Oh, no. Emerson is surrounded by his family and friends most of his career. If anything, that helps him because it relaxes and makes him feel good.
Well, Nigel Mansell was able just a second ago to move around Danny Sullivan and now sits in 9th place, so he comes a little further forward in that points fight, which of course he still dominates. And Rahal continues to command this field. Challenged at this moment only by Al Unser Jr. But Al's remains stuck to the back of that car like glue. Just looking for Rahal to make a mistake.
Back of Scott Goodyear's car. Nobody behind him. He's dropped Stefan Johansson back a bit for the moment. Now we're back inside Rahal. The most difficult thing about these in-car cameras is the little men that we have to have inside those side pods. It gets so hot in there that they just sweat too much. That's what they complain about, those little leprechauns.
Little leprechauns, I would guess, eh, Derek? 56 laps are complete. The distance, 102 laps for the race. So at the front of the order, it remains Bobby Rahal, followed by Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear. Tracking Mansell, he runs in 9th place as the fight for the championship continues as well.
Wouldn't it be great? Yeah! If you invented a special potion that turned anybody into Rachel Hunter, the supermodel.
Ralph, would you take me for a walk?
Cool.
Ralph, we gotta work all weekend. All weekend.
And your special potion turned ordinary beer in a can into Keystone, Keystone Light, and Keystone Dry, specially lined for really smooth
bottle beer taste. Ralph, mind if I join your party?
Sure, Bert. Come on over. Wouldn't that be great?
It's called the best car built in America and the best family sedan.
Just simply the best.
It's Toyota Camry, and this is the time to get one.
Better than all the rest.
Because the best clearance is on now at your Toyota dealer. With Toyota Camrys ranked one of the top 10 models in initial quality, clearance price for immediate sale. Buy now or lease with no down payment and low monthly payments. Quality makes Camry a better value. Don't settle for less. See your Toyota dealer now.
It would go something like this. I'm on third. And on the first pitch, I go. I'm stealing home. Everyone's going crazy. My manager, the fans, Dan Patrick. But I'm stealing home. I'm in there. I'm home. And somewhere in Philly, my grandma has one of her spells. Yeah, that's my Sports Center highlight.
Focal point of Vancouver, Stanley Park, dedicated by Lord Stanley in 1889. Gigantic, beautiful, full-service park with totem poles, gardens, a zoo, an aquarium, restaurants, and miles of walking and biking trails. It is magnificent, and everybody enjoys it. Back on the circuit is Robby Rahal, who has just completed his 59th lap of 102. The chase by Unser Jr. continues. Junior just seems to sit there and stalk and wait and look for an opportunity, one that has not yet been presented by Rahal.
Great street fight here. You can see how close Junior gets to the walls, exiting some of these chicanes. See it right there. It sticks those left-hand wheels almost against the wall. But Rahal is never flustered in situations like this. We very seldom ever see him make a mistake when he's under pressure like this. See the car a little bit sideways there under heavy power. Second gear accelerating away here.
Derek, last week we were talking about the fact that some of the Ford-powered cars didn't necessarily have all the upgrades that others did. What's the situation at Ford now?
Well, Dick Simon was one of the teams who was very loud voicing his displeasure at not having the Ford engines available for Bozell. In fact, everything that is an update on those Ford engines is now available, whether it's the plenum or the induction manifold or the camshaft. They're all sitting on the shelf at Cosworth, available if you have the money to buy them for every team who wants them. Look at this, another traffic jam here. Goodyear gets by. Matsushita and Johansson is right there.
Johansson and Goodyear continue their fight. It's a battle for third place, though broken off for the moment by Matsushita. And now they're back in contact again. It's interesting how often and almost continuous that the upgrades on everything comes, like the chassis. It was interesting to me that Jimmy Vassar's team, Jimmy Hale and that group, were actually waiting for some parts to come in after the first session yesterday for their car that would be bolted on to make it a full upgrade car by the end of the day.
See, the problem is it's so competitive now that you have to have ongoing development programs. And I know we did discuss this at Elkhart Lake about Ford and Lola and Simon not getting it, but I think you have to remember Ford's factory teams are the Newman Haas team and Ari Leyendyke. They do enjoy preferential treatment, but remember, they also take the risks of running the new equipment. It could break and it could be to their detriment. So there is a bit of a give and take situation here.
Totally a risk-reward situation. Jan Bikas, you have an update.
Paul, we are just about to see a pit battle as far as position. Unser Jr. believes that what happens here in the pit is going to dictate what happens as far as moving up a position. You are looking at a fuel probe. All the Indy cars have to use, the teams have to use this probe. These seals right here show that it's been approved by IndyCar. They have to have all the same orifices here, and they're checked before every race. This is what dictates the speed of a stop. It takes 12.5 seconds to flow 40 gallons of methanol through that hose. Everyone has to have the same hose, the same tank, and the same probe. All you can do, Paul, to make it go faster, just like you would port an engine, is that you would have to actually go inside and smooth out all those orifices. But everybody has to use this. It'll make all the difference at this next stop.
It has been interesting in the past, too, to see how people have looked at that situation. Like they found out several years ago that a larger hose would actually help them. You study hydraulics, you think, well, maybe not. But isn't it interesting that sometimes the classroom and practice tend to differ? Those principles that maybe you're taught in physics class don't always work out quite the same way on the racetrack.
And of course, what flows down through those hoses is methanol. Environmentally friendly fuel, I believe, that these Indy cars use.
In fact, something that Roger Penske this morning was saying to you that we don't take as much advantage of is the fact that you're sitting here on methanol and not a petrochemical. It makes a lot of good horsepower. It's very friendly to the engine as well because it helps cool the engine, helps prevent detonation, and as you suggest, is friendly to the environment. On board, Nigel Mansell. Mansell runs in 9th place. And his teammate Mario just ahead.
I'm telling you, this is a great fight here. We have traffic. That was Jeff Wood. We saw him move over to let the leaders by. Look what Mario does. Goes down the straight on the right-hand side. Oh, and he locks it up. Look at him.
Almost loses it. He still closes on TLC-VB, who sits just ahead of him in 7th place.
You could.
Then Fittipaldi, then Bosell. They're all right together on this circuit.
The only thing you missed there is you didn't smell the smoke burning from Mario's tires, but you saw everything that Mansell sees. First he locked the fronts, then he locked the rears, and almost threw the car into the concrete wall.
Well, you also didn't hear what wonderful British comment Mansell may have made to himself at that moment.
Yes, yeah.
And Italian that maybe Mario uttered.
These drivers are on the limit all the time, even if they're fighting for the first 2 positions or 9th or 10th.
We look at the race recap. Surprising on the cars out of the race when you think about all those confrontations at the first part of the race. Andretti and Mansell continue side by side. As now the leaders of this field begin to make pit stops.
There will be an interesting inter-team battle here now between Mansell and Mario's pit crews, because that position could change if the crews can beat each other. If Mansell's crew can beat Mario's out of the pits.
And here comes Rahal as he's made his turn, the leader of the race, onto pit road. Fittipaldi's already in and out. And so now Rahal comes in, Gary.
We watch. Here he is. Oh, he brushes up against one of the tires. No problem, though. Maybe a little bit close to the wall coming in. It's interesting because in the next pit behind him will be Unser Jr., and we were wondering if he'd be coming on the same lap. Don't see him at the moment. Everything routine for Rahal. They've got the tires changed. Fuel's in. Bobby Rahal, in search of his first victory this year, is out of here.
Here's something that may make a difference. Al Jr. stayed out. He's on a very light fuel load. If he can charge around and get back to his pit and get service quickly, remember, he has done a lap on a light fuel load as opposed to Rahal on a heavy fuel load. But look, he has to make a pass here of Emerson. That may slow him down.
Yeah, but of course there's a good comparison. Emerson, who has been in and out of the pits, the full load of fuel on that car as well as the light car that Al Unser Jr. is driving, and little Al continues to circulate this circuit. Now, thanks again to the EDS scoring system that IndyCar uses, we know that the last time by, Al Unser Jr. picked up almost 5 seconds on Bobby Rahal as he streaked by when Rahal went into the pits. Here comes Goodyear in 2nd place, John.
Scott Goodyear stops it. They're making the service, Paul. They can't change what they need to change to give it more traction. All they can do is try and give it a little more wing. Actually, what they're doing, they're making some front wing changes right now to take away some front downforce. And they can't make that stop right now. What they're doing is waiting for exactly what we talked about, that fuel probe to get the fuel. He's out of here. Good stop for Walker Motorsports.
Stefan Johansson also in and out of the pits at the same time there. Johansson comes out in 6th place. Nigel Mansell is in. Mansell was running in 5th at the time he came in. Tom Wertz out in front of the car, ready to give the signal to Mansell. And Al Unser Jr. finally makes the turn onto pit road as Mansell comes back into the fight. Gary Gerald is waiting for little Al.
Danny Sullivan, his teammate, just cleared the pits. Here comes Junior. He won here 3 years ago. He was 2nd here last year. His best finish this year is 4th. Got some flame from a very hot brake on the left rear side. No major problem. No changes. Just tires and fuel. Waiting for the fuel. Junior's gone.
Almost a problem, though, as they for a second had the air wrench stuck under the nose and right front wing of his car. Rahal on the main stretch as Junior comes out.
Al Jr. has pulled it off. The 2 laps that he stayed out on a light fuel load gave him about 2 seconds advantage on Rahal. He is leading the race because of that move, making his pit stop 2 laps later.
Well, you talk about the tactics and how to figure this thing out, and Junior is so sharp. As he sits in the car, he figures that stuff out while he's continuing the battle.
That is all part of winning some of these races. The pit lane is what he pulled off.
Oh, but look at Junior. Look at him lock the the brakes as he fights the car.
Oh, he's on cold tires. That's one of the most difficult things that Nigel Mansell said he would have to cope with when he leaves the pit lane here for 14 years. He's used to leaving on warmed-up Formula One tires. Not now.
So Rahal's dominance of the early going goes away with a wonderfully tactical pit stop by Al Unser Jr. as Little Al now assumes the lead of the run at Vancouver.
This is your world, genuine and true, working together in all that you do, and you're giving it your best. Proud to be your bud, Budweiser. Proud to be your bud. Proud to be your bud. Ooh, yeah. Proud to be your. Proud to be your bud.
Remember those old dirt tracks, AJ? The dirt would just eat up the engines.
Two champions sharing a winning formula. Havoline Formula 3.
My favorite win was going to be in '69. I had to give it to you. You shouldn't have even made a half a lap.
Complete professionals who rely on the same complete protection you can buy right off the shelf. Havoline Formula 3 motor oil from Texaco.
Heck, I still feel if I can't win, I don't want nobody to win. I'll try to remember that, AJ. Do that.
Dear Midas, my brakes were making a terrible squeaky noise. I brought my car to your competitor, and without any inspection, he said, "You need new brakes." Then I went to Midas. Your manager...
Hi, I'm Tom Kirshner.
...had a thorough inspection done and said,
"You don't need new brakes. The squeaking noise is caused by brake dust."
Such honesty is refreshing in the time of auto repair rip-offs. Yours truly, Frank J. Rutter.
Kirby Puckett visits MVP candidate Frank Thomas as the Twins battle the White Sox. Live tonight at 8 Eastern on America's Game of the Week, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball.
At 6 o'clock Eastern, it's the Arlington Million. It was the first $1 million event in thoroughbred racing and has become one of the great turf events in all of racing, right here on ESPN. Well, we watch Canadian Scott Goodyear, who runs in third place, as Al Unser Jr. has played a wonderful little game in the second and final pit stop of the day. And there it is right there, the whole race in that one little graphic. Al Unser Jr. came into the pits just before the stop. Rahal was leading, but when little Al came out, he ran just long enough on a light load to be able to make the stop and come out in first place. At the same time, with those stops, Nigel Mansell comes out ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. Mansell runs in 6th place. Fittipaldi is 7th.
Well, the fight still continues here. You can see that Mansell did not get by Mario during those pit stops, so they stayed stable. Sullivan goes wide, Mansell down the inside, and that's Emerson follows.
Sullivan not part of this fight. He had to come into the pits an extra time after that last stop, so he has fallen 2 laps behind the rest of the field and runs in 11th place. There are 9 cars on the leader lap.
Mansell now driving for championship points. He's not in contention, which was a surprise to everybody. He's had 2 crashes here this weekend. This is the 5T car, the X car he's actually racing here, because his original race car, he crashed it here on Friday and was unable to repair it. Had to go to the backup car, but he was immediately fast in that car. But even at the surprise of me and probably himself, he's not on the pace here today as we would expect from the world champion.
You know, Derek, as you said at the start of the race, that Rahal and the others, Rahal and Goodyear, you said, can become a spoiler to the championship fight. Well, despite the fact he's not leading now, he is in 2nd place. He'll get a barrel of points for that if he stays there. But he also took that single point away already for leading the most laps. So they're robbing points from Mansell's and Fittipaldi's championship battle. Let's go to the pits, Gary Gerald.
Quick update on Danny Sullivan. After the scheduled pit stop, he had to come back in on the next lap. Apparently one of the rear wheels didn't get secured and it was loose, and that cost him an opportunity to gain position, so he had to make a 3rd stop, as it turns out, on the day, Paul, and that's shuffled him further back in the lineup.
So while one of the Gallus cars works well, just with that pit stop from Al Unser Jr.'s that goes so well, just a small error on Sullivan's stop, and he falls well behind the fight of the race. Scott Goodyear has had his problems today. He runs in 3rd place. Watch this.
This again is down at the hairpin. That's Guerrero turns in and drives over the top of Scott Goodyear's left front suspension. And look at the avoiding action taken by Paul Tracy.
You almost have to think that that had to do some serious damage to Scott Goodyear's car. Hard to tell if he got totally on the suspension or partially on the side pod suspension or just on the wheel.
And Guerrero obviously didn't see him because there's only room for one car on that inside line, and he literally turned right in on top of him. Obviously had no idea that either he was there or if he was there, that he was going to make that lunge down the inside.
Second place Rahal, 6 seconds behind Unser Jr. Jan Beekes is in the Gallus pits now.
Yes, we're standing by with Rick Gallus. And Rick, that was a brilliant stop. And I saw that Owen Snyder had got everybody pumped before he made that stop. What did you do special?
The guys did a good job, and hopefully we got enough fuel. It'll be when we go the rest of the way, it'll play out for us. It was pretty good strategy on Owen's part.
I mean, it's still a fuel race even with all those yellows?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a fuel race. You never know, what's going to happen on this deal. But, I'm glad to see our team running up front, and it's kind of fun to be in this position again.
Now they're playing it very cagey. Down here at that fuel tank that we talked about, they've covered up the fuel hose so that no one can look to see how much fuel is left. But Rick Gallus is confident.
All right, let's go down to the Scott Goodyear pits. Gary Gerald is there. We're talking about potential damage to that car.
Just checked with Derek Walker. He listens to Scott on the radio, calls the shots from the pit wall, of course, for Derek Walker Motorsports. He has said that Scott said, take a look at my left front next time I came by. They didn't see anything that they didn't expect to see, but of course it's a high-speed pass. They're hoping that there's no problem, Paul.
Yeah, but it did look like he was darting from time to time in the lap we watched him.
Yeah, it looked as if he was beginning to fight those rear tires again, because under power you can see the car just begin to try and get away from him, and he is trying to correct that car. So actually Guerrero ran over the wheel cleanly. I don't think he actually made contact with that left front wing on Goodyear's car, but Mario has made contact with somebody. See the black tire marks, witness marks, that he made contact with somebody or something in the last 4 or 5 laps?
I'll tell you what, Mario is very racy today as he moves into 5th place now and sets his sights on Stefan Johansson, who's about 5 seconds ahead. Mario is still very much a threat in this battle that is currently led by Unser Jr.
The new Toyo 800 Plus all-season touring radial is Toyo's finest tire, designed for superior driving comfort, a very quiet ride, and long tread life. The Toyo 800 Plus comes with an 80,000-mile warranty. Now, we've got to admit Michelin offers a similar warranty, and so does Bridgestone. 3 superb tires. So, what's the difference? See your nearby Toyo dealer, and he'll explain. Gladly. Toyo tires, driven to perform.
I was right behind him when he started to spin. I know the feeling, nowhere to go, right?
2 champions sharing a winning formula. Havoline Formula 3.
Very unpleasant on an oval, I'd think.
Some people just can't get it right.
Even at Indy?
Oh, especially at Indy.
Complete professionals who rely on the same complete protection you can buy right off the shelf. Havoline Formula 3 motor oil from Texaco.
Perhaps I should follow you then.
Not a bad idea, Nigel.
Back in Vancouver, continuing to watch 3rd place Scott Goodyear, who was involved in contact, but it does not appear that that's caused him any problem. He's involved in a battle right now with his fellow Canadian Paul Tracy. Though not a battle for position, Paul Tracy runs in 14th out of the points and well off of the pace of the race. He's actually 7 laps behind the leader of the race, who of course is Unser Jr. Bobby Rahal led in the early going, and then Unser Jr. with a wonderfully tactical pit stop on the second time into the pits was able to get around Rahal, take the lead of the race, and now runs 5.3 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal. Scott Goodyear is 3rd, Stefan Johansson is 4th, and Mario Andretti is 5th. 78 laps are now complete by the winner. our leader of the race. Winner we have yet to determine.
And Rahal still chasing.
Rick Mears keeps track of his driver, the one he's coaching, Paul Tracy. You know, the city of Reading in Pennsylvania is going to honor Rick Mears for his racing accomplishments and raise some money through a charity softball game. The IndyCars are at Nazareth at the same time that NHRA is at the Keystone Nationals. And so you talk about some big names. Rick is going to be part of it. Paul Newman's going to run bases for Rick in this softball game. But from NHRA, you're talking John Force, you're talking Perdome, Kenny Bernstein. Biggest names in both sides of the sport for a night of softball, and that'll be Thursday, September 16th. And it'll all go for charity. That's a nice idea. They've done it before. Back on board Bobby Rahal's car now. And no sign of Al Unser Jr. ahead. Maybe just a little indication that he's there, just enough to tease Rahal.
But from this camera position, you can get a speed appreciation. Look at the outsides of our pictures on each side. Watch how fast the concrete and the trees fly by. They do almost 180 miles an hour down to this very slow second gear chicane.
The top of the order, everyone running static right now. No one in contest. 79 laps complete. 102 the scheduled distance, 168 miles. Round 13 of the PPG IndyCar World Series. We heard Rick Gallis talk about fuel and whether or not it figured into the race. You wouldn't have thought so, but Gary, maybe you can give us a further update.
Well, we know, Paul, that Rick Gallis and this team are still very concerned about fuel. They've had yellow, which has helped the fuel situation. They've got the Chevy Power, and everybody this weekend was saying the Chevys might have a tougher time with fuel than the Fords. Well, one other Chevy team, Emerson Fittipaldi, has been given the go-ahead to go to 100% rich. Race for the position. Got Mansell and Andretti in front of him. He needs those points to keep his championship hopes alive. They've also told Mario in a Ford he can go to 100%. We understand. So a couple of teams look good. Still very, very cautious and concerned with the Gallis team and Al Unser Jr. who leads the race.
Paul Tracy peeled off into the pits again. Jan Beekes is right there.
Paul Tracy comes what most people would say is not a very important stop, but it is, Paul, because he's running in 13th position. That means that if one car drops out, he will score points. In IndyCar racing, you score points for the top 12 positions, so they're not out of it. They're trying to get whatever points, and you can see they're having a problem with the right front, but he's underway.
Well, Al Unser Jr. was really lighting up the left side tires. Again, we're talking the light side of the car on that approach.
We saw Rahal do that earlier on. Now, right at the end of that, you saw Al come off the brakes. Look at this traffic jam. Come off the brakes and allow the car to roll past the apex, because if he flat spots that tire, it creates such a terrible vibration. It could break something, or it may force him to make another pit stop. But tell me, is Al Unser Jr. taking it easy or giving it everything he has?
Fittipaldi still trying to work his way through traffic. That's Guerrero just ahead of him. Guerrero is in 10th. And here's the battle as Danny Sullivan was just ahead of...
And he's not really in the battle.
It's not part of the fight at all.
No, but Guerrero was put into that similar position with Goodyear, where he was outside and he chopped down to the inside. Emerson saw what was going on, backed out, and gave him enough room to take that inside line.
Canadian television supplying the pictures here, CBC this weekend. Bobby Unser is the analyst over with commentator Brian Williams. You can imagine what he's saying about this right now. Oh, I knew all about this, no problem. Sure, Al can do it. Had the team's tactics down perfect.
And 18 wins is his total so far, including, of course, that great Indy 500 win. Can he make it number 19?
Always a little scary when a car heads off for the pit area on that corner there. Not a problem. Al Unser Jr. still in good shape as he continues to lead and has stretched it out just a bit. Now 5.7 seconds ahead of second place Bobby Rahal.
He was the champion in 1990. And then he definitely got aspirations of moving to Formula One. Never worked out for him. And now he is, I mean, we mentioned it earlier, he is the source of much speculation. The feeling is he has already signed with a new team for next year. So his Formula One aspirations will not continue for next year anyway, because he's going to stay right here.
In fact, I think he's put that on the back burner, if not for now, perhaps even forever. But remember, it was at this race in 1990 when he won at the inaugural race that Al Unser Jr. went on to the championship. This was a key victory for him. We do have some sadness to report today in the IndyCar world, as it's reported that Roger McCluskey, most recently the director of competition for the United States Auto Club, and a longtime IndyCar competitor, passed away. He had a long battle with cancer, and I will tell you, all of us will miss Roger McCluskey and his tremendous smile and his great wit.
For a limited time, your family can get on a Yamaha water vehicle for as little as $4 a day, thanks to our special financing offer. At just $4 a day, it's a pretty hot deal. Go for it at your Yamaha Water Vehicles dealer.
Remember those old dirt tracks, AJ? The dirt would just eat up the engines.
Two champions sharing a winning formula. Havoline Formula 3.
My favorite win was going to be in '69. I had to give it to you. You shouldn't have even made a half a lap.
Complete professionals who rely on the same complete protection you can buy right off the shelf. Havoline Formula 3 motor oil from Texaco.
Heck, I still feel if I can't win, I don't want nobody to win. I'll try to remember that, AJ. Do that.
The WBO Heavyweight Championship. Tommy the Duke Morrison defends his title before a hometown crowd against Mike Williams.
Hey, look, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, right? And I plan to take advantage of it and knocking Tommy Morrison out.
I'm just sorry I have to do this to you.
Plus, Iran the Blade Barkley battles Dino Stewart, the WBO Heavyweight Championship. Live tomorrow night at 9 Eastern only on ESPN.
Back in Vancouver, the top 6 in the field, Unser Jr. still leads it, and you can see the interval back. Shows you that no one is truly in contest on this circuit at the moment in the top 6 of the field. The only battle at all remains down in the order as Fittipaldi and Fabi have been going at each other back and forth for 7th place. You get a glimpse of both of them now as the leader comes through. And Unser Jr. still working on Fittipaldi. Let's go to Jan Vigas.
Paul, you are just about to see a battle because Scott Goodyear is running into problems. He's having gear shifting problems as well as going down the escape road in turn number 3 briefly. Stefan Johansson is closing at a very fast rate. As Scott Goodyear comes by, you can hear that he's probably missing 6th gear. When he tries to go from 5th to 6th, there's no gear there. The crew doesn't have radio communication, but right now he's dropping back in the clutches of Johansson.
Well, I would guess Stefan Johansson would get around him within this lap. They came across the line with Johansson only 4 seconds behind Goodyear. We watch for him now. There comes Guerrero. There comes Rahal. Here's Goodyear.
Tell you what, Goodyear is still there. I mean, he is not that far behind Bobby Rahal, as Rahal seems to have settled down into this nice, secure 2nd place. But Goodyear is still there despite his problems.
We'll keep an eye on the EDS scoring, see how they come across the line, to see whether or not Goodyear is surging forward or backward as they're on the pit straight again. Rahal crosses the line 6 seconds behind Unser Jr., so he falls back a bit as Unser Jr. finally handles up Emerson Fittipaldi. And we still wait for Goodyear to make his appearance on the line so that we can get that comparison.
So Al
Dale
Jr.
Fabi right there on the back of Fittipaldi. That's a fight for position.
I'm just going to say Al Jr. has now lapped all the way up to 7th place. Nigel Mansell is the next man up the road that Unser Jr. will be chasing to put a lap on.
And Jan is actually right. In that last lap, Goodyear actually picked up a second on Bobby Rahal running in 2nd place. He's still 21 seconds behind Rahal, but he did carve a second off of his lead. This is the fight, Fittipaldi with Fabi, and it is a fight for 7th. Both of them, of course, just lapped by the leader, Unser Jr. 88 laps complete. They advertise a purse here at Vancouver of over $1 million. And then in parentheses, they say U.S. funds, American bucks.
This is such a big event here. I think they've set records for attendance on every day that they've been open here for the track, and every grandstand seat has been full here. This is not just another race in the PP Championship. This is an event that comes to this city here in Vancouver.
And you know what's really nice about that is it's not just race day. These grandstands have been full on Friday, a lot of people taking off work. On Saturday for the final round of qualifying, and of course for today, just absolutely jammed here at Vancouver. Watching Al Unser Jr. continue his lead.
At Edwin Watts Golf Shops, you'll find no missing links in the chain of Proline golf equipment. In 25 years, we've sold over 15 million clubs. Our commitment to golfers ensures you unbeatable service, quality, and economy. That's why Edwin Watts is the most trusted name in golf. Edwin Watts Golf Shops. The golfer's choice for 25 years.
It's been a record-breaking year at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer. So how should we bring it to a close? With a record-breaking clearance. Enjoy a selection of Concords, Automobile Magazine's Automobile of the Year, and remarkable savings on all these 93 cars and minivans. Choose Plymouth Voyager or Grand Voyager. Get options like leather seating, anti-lock brakes, and child seat. And save thousands. The record-breaking clearance. Now at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
Back in Vancouver with the PPG IndyCar World Series, car number 3, the Havoline car of Al Unser Jr. is in the lead, 6 seconds over second place Bobby Rahal. Scott Goodyear, despite varied reports of the condition of his car, remains about 22 seconds behind Bobby Rahal. In 4th place is Stefan Johansson, who just flashed across the line. And Mario Andretti runs in 5th. In that championship points battle, Nigel Mansell is 6th, and Emerson Fittipaldi is 7th. So Mansell will pull a little further ahead of Fittipaldi. If they finish as they are now, he'll pick up an additional 2 points. Jan Beekes?
When you look at those gaps, Paul, as far as Scott Goodyear keeping up with Bobby Rahal, you have to look more closely, and that is that Stefan Johansson is coming right up now, 1.8 seconds. What that means is that Bobby Rahal is driving to the fuel numbers. He has backed off. Scott Goodyear has probably not lost 6th gear. He's just having a hard time selecting it. The crew right now is cheering for Johansson as he's closing on Goodyear.
Well, as they come onto the pit straight again, Johansson has Mashusta just ahead of them. There is Tony Bettenhausen. The Tony Bettenhausen Motorsports crew, as they cheer him on each lap, and they watch on the big screen Diamond Vision that they have here, and they see now that Johansson finally has gotten around Mashusta and has a free run now on Scott Goodyear just ahead.
And that was Melvin Lucas we saw there, who's the fueler for this team. So there's obviously no fuel left in that tank because Melvin doesn't have his fireproof helmet on or his balaclava, so his day is done. Now he just enjoys Johansson doing his job.
You called Luke Melvin on nationwide, worldwide, in fact, television?
I'm trying to be nice for once.
He's going to be nice to you with his right fist when he finds you. That's what he'll do. So Scott Goodyear certainly can see Johansson behind him. Al Unser Jr. continues to remain unchallenged at the front of the field. There's Goodyear on the pit straight. He started this race on the pole. Spectacular run yesterday. Nice qualifying. Picked off the pole in the last few minutes of qualifying from Bobby Rahal.
That's right. In fact, Rahal had it all through the session until Goodyear on his last lap stopped, and then Goodyear had to make a pit stop. And he was out of his car watching the dying minutes to see could he hang on to that pole position, which of course he did, and of course to the delight of everybody here in Canada.
Well, and to show you how much fun IndyCar qualifying can be, on Friday, at the last second, it was Stefan Johansson that jumped up from nowhere into second quick of the day with a spectacular run.
And I suppose it's fair to say Tony Bettenhausen's Amex crew deserve a good result because they have been so close to podium finishes many times this year, only to have mechanical gremlins jump up and bite them.
So 93 laps complete for Al Unser Jr. Theoretically, all of the pit stops are now complete. And will Shelley join her husband in victory lane? Well, we'll find out. We'll be back to the finish.
In America, your car doesn't just get you from here to there. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Texaco has developed Havoline Formula 3 motor oil. With not one, but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. Havoline Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
It's a round world, genuine and true. It keeps on spinning and you always come through. And you're giving it your best. Proud to be your bud. Budweiser. Proud to be your bud. Proud to be your bud. Ooh, yeah. Proud to be your. Proud to be your bud.
You protect yourself inside your car. Protect yourself under the hood, too.
Walmart helps you take care of your car and your budget.
Havoline Formula 3 provides complete engine protection. Or try Havoline Synthetic Motor Oil for better protection for the long run. Either way, you add more life to your car.
And because we always sell for less, Walmart's better protection too.
Like a seatbelt for your wallet. Walmart. Always the low price. Always.
7 laps to go in the run at Vancouver. Unser Jr. just got around his teammate Danny Sullivan, put him another lap down. He remains in front of Bobby Rahal, but maybe Unser Jr. is now using a little bit of fuel strategy as well, because Rahal is 4.5 seconds behind. Let's, though, first review the situation of Mario Andretti, who is 5th, and Nigel Mansell, who is 6th. We would hope that they would be better. Jan Beekes, what's the story there?
Paul, we checked in with the crew, and they have not radioed back, but what we do know is that the Lola car is very hard to find that balance. In the words of Chip Ganassi team manager Tom Anderson, he says, there's no such thing as a balanced 93 Lola. It's an oxymoron. They don't go together. It's only degrees of understeer and oversteer. It looks like the Newman Haas crew just doesn't quite have the setup. They're giving it everything they have, but right now, just not the right setup for this course.
And Unser Jr.'s position now 4.3 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal with 6 laps to go. What is it? You think Little Al's managing some fuel too here?
Yes, I would say so. He looks strong. I wouldn't say there's anything problem with the tires. And Al Jr. knows how to manage his races. He follows his pit boards. Remember, every time he goes by the pit lane here, they give him the numbers on his pit board, even if his radio communication is suspect. He knows how to manage his race. But believe it or not, he's about to put a lap on Nigel Mansell.
Reigning world champion, red number 5, is just ahead of him. Of course, he's in a solid position in the PPG points. What he needed here was a good, solid, safe race. He has that. It would have been nice to see a greater battle with Mansell, some more points. That's not to be, and Unser Jr. now closes on him. He will put Mansell 1 lap behind the lead. Mansell runs in 6th. Then just ahead of Mansell, who comes offline. See, no battle there at all. Mansell playing it so very careful.
Mansell's contract is not solidified for next year yet. He is negotiating with Carl Haas, so as everybody agrees on everything and all the stipulations and all the smaller points of a contract. But it's not signed yet, but he is negotiating to stay here for a 2nd year of IndyCar racing.
5 laps to go. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Rick, earlier there was concern about fuel. 5 laps to go. What's the situation now?
Well, we look good on fuel right now, Gary, so it's just a matter of bringing her home.
How long's it been since you've had nerves like this? Been a while.
Yeah, it feels good. The guys have done a good job. Hopefully we can get these other 4 laps.
All right, we'll wait it out with the team here, Paul.
Well, 4 laps to go because Little Al flashed across the start-finish line again. Of course, the Gallus team scored a victory in Detroit with Danny Sullivan. And really, Rick Gallus considers Unser Jr. his driver. That's the team that he manages, so he doesn't count in his own column that win, even though it was a Gallus Racing win. Unser Jr., the inaugural victory here. Here's Goodyear, but look behind him. There's Johansson.
There is Johansson. This fight will go all the way to the end. Johansson is obviously quicker. There's a yellow flag for somebody, but Johansson is closing up now. Look, he's within a car length of Scott Goodyear. Goodyear has a fight on his hands.
And the fight is for 3rd place.
This is the rostrum. This isn't just points. This is the rostrum. You stand and you shake champagne in front of your Canadian home crowd, hopefully for Goodyear.
Scott Goodyear has nursed this car so many different ways. Started on the pole. He's been in and out of trouble a couple of times here today. and now is just holding on by his fingertips.
The sticker you see there in his helmet on the left side, that's for the Victoria Commonwealth Games, which he's happy to advertise because they're Canadian on his car and on his helmet.
And Gary Gerald, an update.
Good news as far as Stefan Johansson is concerned, I'm sure, in the cockpit, because just a couple of laps ago, the crew gave him the go-ahead for 100% rich on fuel. That's why he is really closing now in this challenge against Goodyear for third place and a spot on the podium.
So the fight on the course is for third, Johansson and Goodyear. Unser Jr. has pulled out a bit on Rahal now. He's nearly 7 seconds ahead of second place Rahal.
This is the fight that our Canadian TV broadcasters will follow for us, because this is where the fight is on the racetrack. Scott Goodyear, the very first Canadian ever to win a pole in Canada.
Whereas Paul Tracy pulled off that victory in Toronto, the crowd went nuts during the final laps there. Now with 2 laps to go, Unser Jr. will see the white flag indicating a single lap to go next time past.
Oh, it's getting tight here. That's Bozell that's ahead of him, so he needs a clear run if he's to have a fair fight here with Johansson. But Johansson is so close to the rostrum. Remember what he did to Rahal last year. Took a chance and went down the inside and got away with it. And Rahal went to the wall.
That's an inspired Swede just behind Scott Goodyear. Rahal Boycell sits in front of both of them. Boycell runs in 9th place. Not a factor in this battle. Unser Jr. makes a turn onto the pit straight. He will see the white flag. An indication of a single lap to go now. There it is. Unser Jr. on his way to his first victory of the season, the second for Gallus Racing.
And a final footnote on the Gallus car. Hohen Snyder told me that their car also uses the Penske shock absorbers. They must be good.
Working for Unser Jr. here today, still keeping an eye, looking back for Goodyear and Johansson. There's little Al. Bobby Rahal is 8 seconds back now in second place. The fight is at third. And there it is as Johansson comes around Goodyear. Goodyear,
he's in trouble.
Wrong as he came on the pit straight.
He is in trouble. He's slowed down a great amount here along the front straight. Johansson is on the rostrum. His team will be delighted. But a heartbreak for Scott Goodyear. Is it fuel? It may be fuel.
It may be a further break because as Unser Jr. takes the checkered flag, Mario Andretti is closing on Scott Goodyear as well. So here in Vancouver, Unser Jr. takes the win. Bobby Rahal flashes across the line in second, and Stefan Johansson will finish in third place. The race is run in Vancouver.
Don't wait. Get the news weekly of motoring, Auto Week. Don't wait for driving impressions. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. Don't wait for car news. Auto Week covers the world. Auto shows, the new, the old, and brings it to you fast. Don't wait for racing news. Get the news weekly of motoring. Auto Week brings you the winningest coverage first. Don't wait. Get Auto Week, the news weekly of motoring, now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for this ESPN Race Weekend special. Get Auto Week at the lowest price ever, $17.95 for 52 issues. But don't wait. This offer expires midnight on Monday. Get Auto Week at the lowest price ever. Call 1-800-828-4100.
For a limited time, your family can get on a Yamaha water vehicle for as little as $4 a day, thanks to our special financing offer. At just $4 a day, it's a pretty hot deal. Go for it at your Yamaha Water Vehicles dealer.
Today's coverage of the Vancouver IndyCar Grand Prix has been brought to you by Havoline Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. By Budweiser, fresh, pure, natural, proud to be your bud. And by Walmart, always the low price, always. Well, the race is complete as Unser Jr. finally rolls to a stop. He has taken the win here in Vancouver. Bobby Rahal in second place. Stefan Johansson picks up a podium position right at the end of the run, finishing in third. Scott Goodyear was able to hold off Mario Andretti. Goodyear finishing in fourth place and Mario Andretti finishing in fifth. Let's go down now to Gary Gerald.
Sliding up out of the cockpit. Boy, it's been a while since he's been able to experience this kind of emotion, and there's a lot of emotion here. Alan Mertens is here, Shelley's here, Owen Snyder, of course, the helmet's still on, and as soon as we can get an opportunity, we'll get a very quick word with Unser Jr. as we're just about out of time. But I tell you, he's getting handshakes and hugs from everybody related to this team because it's the first win, of course, of 1993. Junior, tell us about what it feels like, because it's been a long dry spell for you to get to this point, to be able to savor victory once again in an IndyCar.
Well, it really feels great. You know, it's been a long time since we've been here, and you know, it was the last win we had was Indy 500, and you know, that's a good one to win. But we've been fighting very hard to get it back, and you know, I gotta give this win to my guys because they were great in the pits, weren't they? They had an awesome pit stop. You know, I couldn't pass Bobby for anything. He could pull me off the corners well enough that I couldn't outbrake him going in the corners, and so I just said, well, if I can stay with him, then I'll let my guys do it. And sure enough, man, they put me 7 seconds in front of him, and that's all right to go.
Congratulations, Junior. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Bobby Rahal is just finishing up his interview with CBC because we have many broadcasters here. When he is done, we'll grab a quick word with him. Bobby Rahal has put in a clutch performance today up there with former teammate Unser Jr. We're standing by just for him to finish that up. He was speaking with his crew and engineer Bernie Marcus at the end saying, we gave it everything we got. Rahal, tough run today, almost got it.
Well, it's disappointing, you know, to lead so much of the race and then come up short at the end. It just, you know, he really made hay on me in those last 2 laps. He stayed out 2 extra laps, and you know, it came out, we just got in traffic, and you know, that's all it took really. But I'm pleased we ran so hard, and the car qualified very well. So you know, 2 months ago I would have been pleased as punch with a second.
Thank you, Bobby.
Well, Bobby Rahal's year finally coming back together as he finishes in second place. Unofficial at the moment, but here's the order with Johansson making that move toward the end. Perhaps of greatest significance here is that Nigel Mansell sits there in 6th place, 1 position ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. And so with this finish, he moves another 2 points further away from Fittipaldi. It was Paul Tracy that actually suffered the worst in the points fight here. He fell 8 further back as we take a look down through the entire running order here. These are unofficial for the moment, but it's assumed that they will be authenticated by the IndyCar officials in about 30 minutes. No real contest to the action. Well, there's the point standings right now. Nigel Mansell continues his lead as they head on to another road course in 2 weeks at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Magnificent facility, one that always produces a great battle. Our congratulations to Unser Jr. and Gallus Racing. They have taken the win for the 2nd time here in Vancouver. I'm Paul Page for Derek Daly, Jan Beekes, and Gary Gerald. So long from Canada.